You know, we all think we know what darkness means, but when you open up the Bible, it's so much more than just the absence of light. It's this powerful, profound spiritual concept that actually sets the entire stage for the Bible's story of rescue. So, let's pull back the curtain and see what's really going on. And that brings us to the central question we're going to tackle. What does the Bible truly mean by this word, darkness? Because as we're about to see, the answer isn't just some simple good versus evil thing. It actually reveals the fundamental problem that the rest of Scripture is trying to solve. All right, so to really get to the heart of this, we need a key. And that key is a single Greek word, which is where the true meaning of biblical darkness really starts to unfold. And that word is skotos. It's the Greek term for darkness or gloom, and it shows up about 30 times in the New Testament. But listen, this is packed with meaning. This isn't just talking about nighttime. It's a diagnosis of a spiritual condition. It's talking about a fundamental state of being. Okay, now here is where it gets really, really interesting. The Bible frames darkness not as something that is happening, but as something that is already done. It's a finished, completed state. And that right there, that's the core problem that demands a solution. So here's the crucial distinction, and it goes all the way back to the creation story in Genesis. In the original language, light is described as an ongoing, incomplete process. But darkness, it's described as a finished, completed state. Now think about that for a second. Darkness isn't just a void. It's the default setting. It's a settled condition. So what does this completed state of Skotos actually represent? Well, it breaks down into 4 key things: a deep, spiritual ignorance of God, spiritual death, deception, and finally, separation. This is presented as the foundational problem of all humanity. And the consequence for staying in this state? It's described with this chilling, recurring phrase you see all through the Gospels, outer darkness. It signifies a final, absolute separation. For example, in Matthew's Gospel, Jesus uses this really stark, chilling imagery. He talks about being thrown outside into the darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. The whole emphasis is on this profound sense of regret and anguish. And just in case you thought that was a one-off phrase, it's not. The exact same language gets repeated just a few chapters later. This repetition really hammers home the ultimate consequence of Skotos, a final, conscious, and agonizing separation from the source of all light and life. But thankfully, the story doesn't end in that darkness. Into this completed, settled state, the story introduces a radical intervention. A whole new element enters the equation, and it changes absolutely everything. The Gospel of John just frames this conflict perfectly. Light doesn't just appear, it actively has come into the world, right into the realm defined by Skotos. But its arrival forces a choice, and it reveals a pretty surprising allegiance, a preference for the familiar darkness over the intrusive light. And the New Testament is crystal clear about the identity of this light. It's not some abstract force or a vague concept. No, the light is a person, Jesus Christ, entering into a world that is spiritually defined by this state of Skotos. And this quote from Matthew just captures the impact of his arrival so well. It's described as a dawning. For those who are living in darkness, something brand new and incredibly powerful has broken through, a direct counter to what the text calls the shadow of death. So, if darkness is the problem and light is the intervention, then what's the solution? How do you move out of that completed state? Well, the scriptures describe it as a divine rescue operation. The Apostle Paul lays it out as this amazing 2-step cosmic rescue. It's a deliverance from something and a transfer into something else. Step 1, you're rescued from the authority, the dominion of Skotos. Step 2, you're literally transferred into a completely new reality, the kingdom of the Son. The book of Acts talks about this exact same journey. It's about opening spiritually blind eyes. It's a literal turning, a reorientation from darkness to light, from one power and authority to a completely different one. It's like a total change of citizenship. And that leads us to the final and maybe the most crucial point. What does this cosmic rescue mean for a person's life, right here, right now? The answer is a brand new identity and a brand new command. Now check out the wording on this because it's so important. Paul doesn't say you were in darkness. He says you were darkness. It was your actual nature.
But now, because of that divine rescue, your identity has fundamentally changed. You are light in the Lord. And the command that follows is simple. Live in a way that matches that new identity.
So, what does living as children of light actually look like in practice? Well, the scriptures give us three really clear instructions. First, you have to recognize you just don't belong to that old realm anymore. Second, you actively reject the behaviors and patterns that go with it. And third, you live with a whole new purpose, to tell everyone about the goodness of the one who pulled off this incredible rescue. And so this entire biblical narrative, from Genesis all the way to the end, it brings us to this one final takeaway question. Beyond all the theology and the ancient words, it's a question about our daily reality. After everything we've just seen, it's really a question for each of us to consider. Are you walking in the light?